Welcome to the Retirement Evolved podcast with certified financial fiduciary Adam Bruno.
Yeah, Florida strong, Bill. Florida strong.
I know we are so glad to be back with you, man. And for those who don't know, Adam is based out of Fort Myers, Florida, and we all know the unfortunate events that went down there a couple of weeks ago. But he's back. Power is up. Internet's hooked up, and as soon as we're done here, he can get his buddy Warren to step down off the pole with the aluminum hat and the antenna that he's holding up high for us.
How'd you know that? You know me too well, Bill. You know me too well. Yeah.
And I'm glad
before we get started, Bill, I just wanted to first of all, all of our families that are listening, everybody, we've reached out to everybody, but even if you're not listening, you're in Florida, if you haven't listened to us before, you're in Florida, I'm going to say it and I'll probably get, the evil eye for it. All of our prayers here, all of our prayers are with everyone in our community here in Southwest Florida. It's just been such a devastating storm, but I know that we're going to come out the other end, and I don't want to sound cliche because I'm literally driving down the street and seeing things that are happening here, the way this community came together. All of our thoughts, all of our prayers, we just want everybody to know that we're here for you as well.
Well, that's outstanding, and it is it's unfortunate, although those of us from afar have watched many times as Florida has had to rebuild. And it's been done before, and I know it'll happen again. And it's really funny how saying our thoughts and prayers with you has suddenly become inappropriate, but I don't care.
I was praying. I was hitting my knees, Bill. Let me tell you, when my house was shaking and it looked like, I sent you the video, it looked like you could go surfing in our front yard with the waves and the river running down the street.
Right.
I hit my knees. And I do it randomly all throughout the day just because of the fact that, you see an act of nature like that, and if you start to even question whether there's a design to this world that we live in, it is something that will shock you to the core. It was unbelievable to see Mother Nature on display that way. I got to tell you, Bill, I was having a little fun with it before the storm started. I went out, I was kind of filming the palm trees shaking, and Maverick was loving the wind. We were standing in the entryway, and he was running up and down the entryway, loved the wind. He was running into it. And then I'm telling you, and then the badness happened. Not even an hour later, it was a nightmare scenario. It was crazy. House was shaking. And, I've been through a few hurricanes before. This was nothing like that. And my heart went out to people that had already been through something like this, because as Floridians, we get a little spoiled and we say, oh, that's just a hurricane, right? But the reality is this one was devastating, and it was just the perfect storm.
And again, like I said, I'm just really glad that we're together. It took a couple of weeks, but now we're back at it. So
yes, sir.
Glad to hear your voice and that all is well. This is, of course, the Retirement Evolved podcast. I am Bill Seller with Adam Bruno, financial fiduciary, personal wealth manager. What am I leaving out there, buddy?
No, you did good, pal. No, certified financial fiduciary, private wealth manager. You hit it on the head today. Way to go.
Well, practicing and your threats have gotten me to where I need to get it right every time. But no, Adam is all of that with the good folks at Evolution Retirement Services. You can find out more about them at evolutionretirementservices.com. And we get together on these podcasts to talk about things affecting money in retirement, or just in general. The world in general, and what that means for you if you're in retirement or getting close or starting to think about getting ready to save for retirement. Either way, we just talk about a bunch of stuff. And the first thing we'd like to ask you to do every week, of course, is if you can, please hit your like, subscribe, follow, whatever the button on your podcast player says. We would really very much appreciate that as we get into things today. And, there's a lot of things that we could go down the road of, I guess. Is that the way you would say that?
We could start the journey. Yeah. Many different roads to choose from.
Many different roads. But I thought we'd start out with the fact that, you may be soon getting your pills from Rosie the Robot from the Jetsons. Did you see this story at Walgreens?
I did see a little bit about it. Yeah. I didn't get too detailed, but we could definitely start there because that's important.
Yeah, apparently Walgreens can't find enough human pharmacists, so they're developing robot pharmacists. Yep, they're going to be putting robots out there to dispense your prescriptions. They want to free up the few real pharmacists that they have to do things like, answer your questions, I guess, about why your prescription's wrong because the robot misfilled it. I don't know what they're going to talk about. But they want them to do things like making phone calls and talking to patients and that kind of thing. But That's it's, technology, man, awesome and scary all at the same time.
You know what I'm really happy about with this, Bill, is that most pharmacists, have you been to a pharmacy lately?
Oh, yeah.
Most pharmacists are robots anyway. You walk up to the counter, you stand there, and they don't even greet you. It's just kind of like you don't even know whether to say hi because they're so focused on what they're doing. That always bugs me, whether it's a pharmacy or not. Just say hi, just say, hey, be right there, no problem. But when they don't say anything, oh my gosh. I've got like one of the few great pharmacists that's left. She is amazing. She works in CVS right inside our local super Target there. Every time, and she knows my name. I mean,
wow.
I would be happy just saying hello, but she knows my name. She says, "Hey, Adam, how's Amelia? How's Kelly?" Like she knows that's the way service should be, right? So, but most other pharmacists, they're like robots anyway. So I think this is a win for people. Maybe it'll get done quicker.
It could be. I'm wondering though, like instead of putting the labels on there about what the drug could do to you, when they hand it to you, are they like, warning, danger? I mean, is that what they go by?
Danger, Will Robinson.
Exactly.
Yes, that would be neat, because the fact is all they do now to get around that and speed things up is say, any questions about the drugs? Yeah. Well, actually, is it going to kill me? Or, that nobody really stops and says, I actually have a question about the side effects. Can we talk about that? Nobody does that.
No. Because you've already seen the 8-minute commercial that explains all that to you.
Oh, God, we were just talking about that. It's terrible.
Exactly.
I look at those commercials, I'm like, why the hell would anyone want to take this medication?
Exactly. Exactly. My dad, my father had cancer. He passed away from cancer, and they wanted to put him on some new drug that was out. And he was like, first of all, it was extremely expensive. It was insanely expensive per month.
Insane.
And secondly, the fine print said something about possibility of keeping 25% of those that take the pill at all alive for an extra 3 weeks. I mean, that's really what it came down to. And he was like, no, I'm not draining my bank account. He was looking at me when he said it to hang around with you. So I took that kind of personally.
Well, I got to say, Bill, he's had all that time with you already. He's probably just like, all right, I'll see you later on, wherever you end up,
He'd had enough.
I'll keep a seat warm for you. I'm out of here. I'm checking in.
Oh, man. So, this is the time of year really that a lot of us start thinking about taxes. I know we're rolling up on Christmas, and the end of the year is going to be here before you know it.
Right.
But when that comes around, a lot of times, by the time we get to next April, it's kind of too late to do stuff about your 2022 tax bill. So while we do have time, Adam, I wanted to bring this up today and ask you, are there some steps that we can take to keep our taxes low, or do you talk to people about ways to not pay as many taxes?
So the number one thing, Bill, this is the key. Roth conversions, of course, if you decide that you want to take some of your IRA money and convert it to Roth, whatever amount that is, that's going to be added to your income for the year, okay? What has happened and what Kurt and I have seen happen over the last 3 years is the deadline to do that keeps getting pushed further forward. So we used to have until, right before Christmas, even a little bit after Christmas. 4 years ago, it was December 27th. Because wherever your IRA is, they're going to have rules about when you need to complete different things for processing. So for us, we use TD Ameritrade as our custodian for our family's wealth because we don't hold custody of any of our family's wealth. They have their own TD Ameritrade custodian accounts, institutional accounts. And TD Ameritrade, over the last 4 years, we've seen them move that date from December 27th. It's moved back to December 18th, then December 12th. Now this year, we're thinking it's going to be somewhere around December 1st or 2nd that those Roth conversions have to be completed by in order for you to take advantage of doing a Roth conversion. So some people don't even realize they'll be in December and it'll hit them and they'll say, I should probably do a Roth conversion this year. But it's already too late because they've pushed that back now so that you had to have gotten it done weeks earlier. And I don't think it's fair, but it's very important that if you are looking to do a Roth conversion, try to have it completed in November sometime, by next month, by the end of next month. Even, heck, I would say even the middle of next month to be safe. That's so important. And as we already know, Roth conversions are a great way to get some of that money, move it into the Roth, pay the taxes now while we're in that lower tax environment. And of course, you have to take things into account. You have to look at your current tax bracket. But if you've got $20,000 or $25,000 worth of room in your current tax bracket, why not do a conversion, convert it to Roth, pay the taxes now while taxes are so much lower. We've already talked about on this podcast multiple times. In 2026, the Trump Tax Act gets repealed. So we're going to go back to 2016 tax rates. And now we have to add back in inflation and things like that. I don't think we're going to be in a good shape tax-wise in the year 2026 when things are changing. So to me, I would much rather pay the taxes now as much as we can while they're lower, because if you wait in 2026, you could be paying 10, 15% more in taxes. So the reality, though, is that the secret is out, and a lot of these institutions are making you do it earlier and earlier every year. So you really want to check on that.
Let me ask you a question. You say it's got to get done earlier. You're running out of time to get it done. Is converting to a Roth IRA, is that a long process or?
No, it's not. As long as so it depends on the custodian, whoever is holding your accounts. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it will take a little bit longer, but what is important is that you have the request in. If the request is in, they have to do it. They can't say, well, you didn't get the request in time. So no matter how long it takes them. So for our families, it usually takes, it's a couple days, really, it's a quick process, quick turnaround time. But you are going to get a 1099. You'll see that, whatever it is, that $25,000 show up in your Roth account. The other thing to think about here is, if you haven't done a conversion before, you do have to create your Roth account where they're holding your IRA. So if you have all of your money at Fidelity, you need to create a Roth account with Fidelity, so that way it can move from the IRA into the Roth account. Or to do you one better, Bill, sometimes people leave their money in their 401ks or their 403bs, but in order for them to do a Roth conversion, it has to move into an IRA first, because then it moves from the IRA to the Roth IRA. In other words, you can't move money from a 401k directly into a Roth IRA. It has to go into a traditional IRA first, and then into the Roth IRA.
Okay.
So
all right. So that could take a little time.
That's why I brought that up.
Right.
Those things could take a little bit of time. So if you're not already set up to do a conversion, it's something you should look at now. And I'm going to tell everyone, just like I say it every week, call us if you have questions about Roth conversions. A lot of other advisors, with my air quotes, don't talk about Roth conversions because there's no way for them to make any extra money on it. They're charging a fee and they're managing accounts no matter whether it's IRA or Roth. It doesn't matter to them. But it makes a huge difference to you. So if you have questions about this, call us. And we talk about it all the time, Bill. The reason we just, talk through topics and just have fun on here is so the people know it's not a sales pitch. You call us, you talk to somebody on the team here. They're more than happy to help you identify whether Roth conversion could potentially be a good idea for you. Not only whether it's a good idea, but some of the drawbacks if you were to do it. So, for example, if you do too much, you might end up paying more for your Medicare because now your income is too high. So there's all these different things that need to be explored. We will help you explore those. We'll answer any questions that you have. It's so important to get it done soon, though, because you don't want to miss out on doing a conversion, and then next year you say, well, now I have to make up for it, and you can't make up for it because if you do 50,000, now that's too much. Right. Now you can't, you know what I mean? So you just want to get the best advice you can. Right.
So if this sounds like something you're interested in, or you have questions about exactly how it works, the number to call that Adam's talking about is 866-838-3765. That's 866-838-3765. I would put it at the bottom of your screen, but this isn't television. So, again, the number is 866-838-3765. And, what's funny is we're talking about the Trump tax benefits being gone here in 2026. I'm just wondering, depending on how the midterms go, could those be brought back? Could they be reinstated, or is that something that's just toast anyway?
So it doesn't matter
if the midterms change things. I'm not assuming anything.
I understand the question, Bill. I think the safest way to answer that is telling families just to expect it to change in 2026. Doesn't matter who's in office, because it was set up a certain way. It was set up for a 10-year period. It's going to have to change no matter what. You can't just extend it when it's been set up for 10 years, right? So, right. And now do you really want to take the chance with all this infighting and political infighting? I just read the other day, and I was really excited about this. The senator from Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard, she came out and said she's leaving the Democratic Party because they have she feels like it's turned into more of like a cabal type elitist society with the Democrats. It was an interesting take. I can't disagree with the fact that it feels like we're taking, religion and morality out of a lot of our decisions as a country. Wherever you stand on that, it shouldn't be an issue of whether we can practice our religion. And it doesn't matter whether you're Christian, you're Buddhist, Muslim, whatever religion you are. Our Constitution allows for freedom of religion. And it seems like what she's saying is everybody is just starting to come down on this now, and it's a big issue. So now she's leaving the Democratic Party, and she's calling on some of the other Democrats that she is close with to leave the Democratic Party as well. I'm not saying that because I'm a Republican and I'm so happy she's leaving the Democratic Party. I'm saying that because look at the strife that it's already creating. Are we really going to trust these politicians with our, to say, oh, they'll make things right? So for me, I would rather prepare for the worst. And the worst is it's going to change in 2026. Not only is it going to revert back to what it was in 2016, we've had 2 years of the highest inflation we've ever seen. Interest rates rising, inflation rising. It's been the highest it's been since the 80s. That you can't tell me that that's not going to get taken into account when they're deciding on these new tax brackets.
Right. And one of the other things they're worried about with this election for the first time in forever, that for the past 80 years or so, since 1942, the year following midterm elections, stocks have gone up every single time.
Right.
And now Wall Street is really nervous that that's not going to happen this time.
Well, the interesting thing about that is, of all people, Warren shared this article with us the other day from Market Watch.
Your Warren?
Our Warren. Can you believe it? I'm so proud of him. He's growing up so fast.
No kidding.
Usually he handles all of our marketing and stuff, but he sent us this article, and I'm like, wow, Warren, that's a really good find. The title of the article was, "We're likely to see one of the greatest transfers of intergenerational wealth ahead of us." And that's coming directly from TIAA-CREF. And they're saying that, we're staged for this huge transfer of generational wealth. And when you think about it, it makes sense, because we did have, just now with the boomers, we had over, 15 years of an up market. So now things are starting to change a little bit. But unless the market stays down for another 3 or 4 years, we've created a lot of wealth in this country. And if you know any millionaires, most of them are the cheapest people you'll ever meet. Yeah. No offense to any of my families. I shouldn't say cheap. I should say frugal, right? So they're the ones that are saying, well, I don't really want to spend a lot of this money. I'm just going to leave it to my family. Well, what the heck do you think your family's going to do with it? Yeah. I mean, they're going to spend it, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to create a really big storm. Now, how much that affects the market, who knows? Because as we know, if you're a younger person, you get your hands on a big pot of money. F stands for Ferrari, not family. So, I mean, it's important, right? I mean, we got to think about all these things.
Well, yeah. And of course, passing it on to your kids is one thing you can do with it. I mean, the old saying, right, you can't take it with you. I mean, what do you want to be, the richest guy in the cemetery? I mean,
Denzel Washington, you never see a U-Haul attached to a hearse. That's
exactly.
what he said. I mean, that was my favorite
Exactly.
line. I love Denzel.
Exactly.
But I tell my families all the time, listen, let's have a plan for this. Let's spend it. If you don't want to spend it on yourselves, spend it on vacations with the family every year. Create some memories that you have. That way you're not just leaving them this big chunk of money. I mean, let's face it, you're going to be dead. What's the outcome there?
Exactly.
Exactly.
So, well, all of this is very interesting because these are all things that are happening in the world that we have no control over, that affects our retirement, right? I mean, and the way that we invest and the money that we've put away for all these years is now kind of getting bombarded from all sides by things that we can't control. And
well, that's exactly the key point that you're making there, Bill. We as investors always think that we can control it, we can time it. When you get $1 million or a couple $1 million in your portfolio, you're feeling pretty good. And you're feeling like, oh yeah, I've got this. I can control this. The reality is we don't have any control. Most of the time when we get a hot stock tip, we're already late. And I wanted to share this with you because I thought it was so important. There was just an article that was printed. And the funny part about this is it came from the Wall Street Journal and the Capital Assets section. And they are now officially talking about all of these federal officials that trade stock in companies that those agencies oversee. Right? We always wonder how the rich keep getting richer. Now I just watched one of my favorite movies is Fast and the Furious. One of the movies, Kurt Russell's in it, and he plays a character called Mr. Nobody. And he says, you know how you kill a shadow? You shine a little light on it, right? So hopefully now that we start to shine a little light on this, and this is happening, and we're finally starting to report on it, these things can change. There's more than 2,600 officials at agencies from the Commerce Department to the Treasury Department, during both Republican and Democratic administrations that disclosed stock investments in companies while those same companies were lobbying their agencies for favorable policies. I mean, think about that for a minute. How do you get rich quick? You become a politician, apparently. And why is this legal? And how is this getting by?
That this gets back to what we talked about a couple weeks ago. And, Captain Conspiracy here. I was just saying that, this big push to everybody has to have an electric car. I'm just curious how many people that are creating those laws are invested in electric cars.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's no different. And but you're right. That that's how the rich keep getting richer. So maybe this will shine a little light on some things, and things will have to change, hopefully.
Well, Bill, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is if you've got a couple $1 million in your portfolio and you've done a great job investing, I get it. I know how you feel. But when you come up on retirement, whether you want to admit it or not, you need help, because you can't keep going the same way with the same strategy and expecting the same success. That's the definition of insanity. We know that the market changes. We know that the market goes up and down. We know that different sectors light up and different sectors crumble. So for you to follow the same strategy over that same amount of time, or think that you're in control of this or that you can time the market, I mean, let me know how that goes. I don't care if you've got 10 million or a million or 100,000. You have reached certain points in history of your investment practices where you have taken a loss. Do you want to take a loss when you're in retirement? Do you have 10, 15, 20 years to make up for it? Because the averages are astounding. We know that the national averages, if you've taken this big loss, you would think, well, if I lost 10% and I made 20% the next year, I made up for my loss. That is absolutely not true. It takes usually at least 3 years to make up for that loss.
And that's what Adam and his team at Evolution Retirement Services are all about. They're helping you with that plan, trying to keep you on track, and to deal with all these things that, as we mentioned earlier, we have no control over, that are affecting our money. And there's a great website that you can check out. It's called taxfreefortmyers.com. And please spell out the word Fort in Fort Myers. That's FORT Myers.com. And on there, you're going to find all kinds of great resources to help you with any questions you might have about your retirement. You're going to find links to these podcasts and also a great book that Adam wrote. It's called They Lied, The Real Cost of Your Retirement, answering the big question most of us have when we get to retirement, which is, why didn't I know about this? And whatever this is, there's a lot of this in retirement.
There's a lot of this.
That's exactly
it. There's a lot of this in retirement. No, and Bill, I couldn't agree more. And I deal with families that have millions and millions of dollars. I've helped family. I help everybody. Okay, when they contact us and they call us, obviously we'll identify people that we can work directly with, but we end up helping more people than we actually work directly with, and that's the goal of our organization. Our team is just, I can't say enough about it. We have CPAs, CFPs, CPA, certified financial planners. We have 2 estate planning attorneys. It's so important to attack all areas in retirement, because when we haven't been attacking them when we've been working, we've lost out on some opportunities. And of course, we'll always lose out on a little bit of opportunity, but we can't afford to lose out on opportunities when we're retired.
Absolutely. And those opportunities, we don't always see them on our own, right? That's why it's great to have somebody on your side and a team like the good folks at Evolution Retirement Services. Well, Adam, I'm so glad that you are back up and running and everybody's good and healthy in your end of the world, and that your family's doing well. And I know that Fort Myers will be back, and I know the recovery is underway, and it'll be exciting to see what the new things are that pop up when everybody gets everything back together.
Yeah, and I just want to, petition everyone who's listening right now. First of all, thank you for listening. Every time I think of all the listeners that we have, it just makes my heart so proud. I get a little emotional. But I would appreciate it if you just keep us in your prayers down here. I mean, we need all the help we can get, and people have really stepped up down here. I know that we've done a few things for a couple different organizations down here that are trying to help. I mean, just the immediate need. Some of these homes have just been completely destroyed. We have a lot of seniors that live in manufactured homes down here, snowbirds and things. Those are gone, destroyed. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of seniors that need help down here too. So just keep us in your thoughts and prayers if you can. Help however you can, but more importantly, just keep us in your prayers. That everybody down here needs it right now.
Well said, my friend. And I will look forward to talking with you again next week.
Sounds great, Bill. Can't wait to see. Well, not see you. Thank God no one can see us, right? They just hear us. This isn't television.
You got that right.
I was going to say when you said that, thank God it's not television, right?
You got that right. Oh, man. And thank you so much for listening, as Adam said, to the Retirement Evolved podcast. And again, please hit your like, subscribe, or follow button. We would very much appreciate it.
Investment advisory services are offered through Evolution Wealth Management Incorporated, an investment advisor registered with the state of Florida. Registration does not imply any level of skill or training. Evolution Wealth Management's unique CRD number is 307644. You can obtain a copy of Evolution Wealth Management's firm brochure, Form ADV Part 2A, free of charge by visiting advisorinfo.sec.gov. Evolution Wealth Management offers investment advisory services only, where it is appropriately registered or exempt from registration, and only after clients have entered into an investment advisory agreement confirming the terms of engagement and have been provided a copy of the firm's ADV Part 2A. Insurance services are provided by Evolution Retirement Services. Any guarantees mentioned are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company and may be subject to restrictions, limitations, or early withdrawal fees, which vary by the issuer. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. You should consider the charges, risks, expense, and investment objectives carefully before entering a contract. This material has been prepared for informational purposes only and should not be construed as a solicitation to affect or attempt to affect either transactions in securities or the rendering of personalized investment advice. This material is not intended to provide and should not be relied on for tax, legal, accounting, or other financial advice. Evolution Wealth Management and Evolution Retirement Services do not provide tax, legal, or accounting advice. You should consult your own tax, legal, and accounting advisors before engaging in any transaction. Evolution Wealth Management and Evolution Retirement Services are affiliated entities.